What is going on, everyone? Lauren Sis with AL.com, cruising into week 6 of the college football season, and a good one for the Auburn Tigers coming off a big win over LSU in Baton Rouge, snapping a 10-game losing streak in Death Valley. The final score there, 24-19. And to talk about that is Tom Green. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors. Keep Alabama beautiful. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all you guys for watching. So let's get right to it, Tom Green. Bo Nix or Houdini? I mean, come on.
I mean, it was inexplicable. I guess I struggle to find the words to describe what Bo Nix did, but I mean, simply put, LSU could not tackle him as best they tried. I mean, LSU entered that game with the nation's #1 pass rush, 18 sacks through the first 4 weeks, and they just could not wrap Bo Nix up in the backfield. It looked a lot of like what we saw from Bo Nix when he was in high school at Pinson Valley, kind of that backyard brand of improvisation and freelancing. And man, that touchdown to Tyler Fromm was, surreal. They obviously very much needed a play there. They were down 13-0, 4th and 2 from the 24-yard line. It was a design, run out screen to Fromm, and it just wasn't there. So Bo Nix, just cut back to his left, broke a shoestring tackle, it looked like, and then, made his way to the sideline, somehow escaped another couple of defenders there, managed to set his feet, kept his eyes downfield the whole time. And I mean, just the way he described it after the game, he was like, I looked up and I just saw that hair flowing out the back of Tyler Fromm's helmet and just heaved it. And man, what a great job by Tyler Fromm to, keep it alive in that scramble situation and, run a route and find the end zone. And man, what a first career catch for him. I mean, he didn't have any catches in his career entering that game. He had 3 against LSU. That was his first touchdown, is what I meant to say. So certainly a memorable one, and one that will obviously go down in Auburn LSU lore.
I know, and you have to think about that too. You bring up a great point. It's not just Bo Nix making this Houdini play. It's also the receivers, right? The fact that he was able to track him and stay engaged. And even when Bo Nix was running there to the sideline, to be able to have that awareness and not be pushed out of bounds and be able to kind of skirt around things. I mean, it was literally like the perfect storm of everything went right in Bo Nix's favor. And of course, after last week in the second half against Georgia State getting benched, you got to think about Bo Nix as a guy that has not been able to deliver on the road. There's been a lot of question marks about his maturity and just who he is as a player and just the he's had on the road. Then you go into Baton Rouge with this terrible like voodoo thing that you talked about last week. This hex that's been on this Auburn team when they go to Death Valley, and for him to be able to deliver when it mattered most, certainly impressive there. Okay, getting to the defensive side of football, I want to grade out the defense. I think one of the biggest things, you didn't have your leading pass rusher in TD Moultrie, yet they were still able to, accumulate 3 sacks on the quarterback. And of course, Owen Papo still out due to a lower injury. So some key pieces missing, but seemingly this Auburn defense got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, which paid dividends, especially in the run game as well, and only allowing 29 rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you get to that 8 p.m. start and you look at LSU's first drive. And, 8 o'clock start, you already know it's going to be a long night for everybody involved. But you watch that first LSU drive, and you're just thinking, man, this is going to be a long one for Auburn's defense. I mean, Max Johnson opened the game 6 of 6, 122 yards on a 91-yard drive. Thanks to, a penalty and, a wild snap that pushed them back some. But, 6 of 6, but 122 yards, 99 of those to Keyshawn Boutte, who made a ridiculous catch on that touchdown. And you're just thinking, oh, man, Auburn's pass defense, these issues are rearing their head again. But credit to Auburn, because after that, they adjusted and they delivered for the rest of that game. Max Johnson only completed 50% of his passes the rest of the way. They got home with that pass rush. Credit to Derek Hall, who had a great game. Colby Wooden, the stats don't necessarily show it, but he was a monster out there. Eku Leota got another sack and a forced fumble. And, they were just able to get pressure on Max Johnson and make him uncomfortable. 6 more hurries to go with those 3 sacks. And the secondary stepped up. They had 5 pass breakups, and obviously that interception by Darius Knighton at the very end to, seal that win and, end that streak. So yeah, just a really impressive effort by Auburn's defense, especially there in the second half. After LSU's last field goal, I believe it was punt, interception to end the game, with 2 of those being 3 and outs. So, when Auburn's back was against the wall and they needed those stops, they got it.
Yeah, and I think that's typically, as we've seen in years past, and just in game situations like this, just the meltdown that happens. And to go into that environment, you were in there. I mean, just the swaying of the press box, just absolute, insanity. And for them to be able to go in and communicate and get the job done, make the critical adjustments they needed offensively and defensively, job well done. And what does this say, in your opinion, the significance of this win for the start of the Harsin era as we get ready for the next major matchup against Georgia?
Well, I mean, it's significant from the standpoint that, you're starting 1-0 in SEC play when you have a murderer's row in front of you. You look at the rest of their schedule. They host Georgia this weekend, which is going to be no easy feat at all if you look at what Georgia's done these first 5 weeks. Then you travel to Arkansas, which, they've looked very good, even though they got shut out by Georgia. But I mean, that Georgia team just looks like a buzzsaw right now.
Yeah.
Then you head into the bye week. You still have Ole Miss. You still have Texas A&M. You still have Mississippi State. You still have Alabama. So it's a brutal schedule. So to get off to that 1-0 start and to be able to just kind of get that monkey off the program's back, that 20-year losing streak in Baton Rouge, it's crazy. You think about, all the success that Auburn's had these last 2 decades, undefeated season, national championship, SEC titles, playing for another national championship, and none of those coaches have been able to win down in Death Valley. Bryan Harsin comes in there and he does it in his first try. Of course, this LSU team, they have their issues. They're very talented, but as a team, they're just not cohesive right now. But still, to go down there and get that win, I mean, that's a huge boost. We'll see how long that lasts, because, like I said, that Georgia team looks like a buzzsaw coming into Jordan-Hare Stadium right now.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning the up and down emotion. You come out of, you go to Penn State. Obviously, the disappointing loss there. Coach said, we're not in this for moral victories. Like, we're not happy with the way the outcome of this game happened. Then Georgia State. I mean, I just, just the text messages and the Twitter feed, watching that as that game was unfolding, just like basically everyone up in arms. We're throwing in the towel. Like, who is this Auburn team? They fire their wide receivers coach. Like, all sorts of just stuff happening around this program. And then they go in and get this significant win. I think the biggest key here, though, Tom, and we talked about it before, is consistency, finding consistency in that process of winning games. And I think that's the one thing that Bryan Harsin has been tasked to do. He was consistent at Boise State. Can he continue to be consistent as the head coach at Auburn? And I think, obviously, that is still TBD, very much so. And we'll take some time to kind of unravel that and see where things go, especially, as you mentioned, with the schedule that they have coming up. It is going to be absolutely brutal, and it starts this Saturday, Georgia at Auburn, 2:30 p.m. Central Time on CBS. Tom, we so appreciate your insight on this. Of course, another big week for the Auburn Tigers. Enjoy the trip back to Jordan-Hare Stadium, or at least you get to be back home. So I know that'll be nice for you. I know you've been on the road quite a bit these last few weeks. So, back and forth between the two. So appreciate you so very much. We also appreciate our sponsors. Keep Alabama beautiful, y'all.